Hello, story lovers, and welcome to Infidelity Tales Lab. We're grateful for having such amazing viewers like you. Tell us, which part of the world are you watching from today? Morning coffee or evening wind down? Share below. Now, let's dive into today's story. Stuart Patterson's fingers drummed against his ergonomic keyboard, the gentle tapping echoing through his home office. The school's new emergency contact portal glowed on his dual monitors, its interface deceptively simple. As CISO of Rival Tech Industries, he'd reviewed countless security implementations, but this one made him pause. "Dad, where's my blue science folder?" Emma's voice carried from upstairs, interrupting his thoughts. "Check your backpack side pocket, honey," Stuart called back, his eyes fixed on the screen. The cursor blinked in the parent/guardian section, where he'd already entered his information. A small plus symbol waited to add additional contacts. His daughter's footsteps thundered down the stairs. "Found it. Hey, did you finish that school thing?" Mrs. Rodriguez said, "We can't start the semester without it." Stuart swiveled in his chair as Emma appeared in the doorway, her 12-year-old face framed by dark curls that matched his own. "Almost done, sweetheart. Just double-checking everything. Mom already did her part yesterday," Emma said, adjusting her backpack strap. "She said to make sure you don't forget about the medical stuff, right?" Stuart nodded, turning back to the screen. He navigated to the medical authorization section, his security credentials automatically granting him access to the deeper layers of the database. A force of habit made him scan the audit logs, timestamps, access patterns, linked documents. That's when he saw it. Second father, Manuel Lamb, CEO, Globe Tech Solutions. Stuart's throat tightened. He clicked the entry, expecting to find a system error. Instead, more details populated the screen. Emergency contact information, authorized pickup permissions, even attendance records for parent-teacher conferences dating back 2 years. "Emma," he kept his voice steady. "Who's Manuel Lamb?" His daughter's sudden silence felt heavier than any answer. When he turned around, she was gone, her footsteps already retreating upstairs. Stuart's security training kicked in. He began methodically exploring the digital trail, each click revealing another layer of the deception. Medical records appeared, showing genetic testing from 3 years ago. The requesting parent's name, Manuel Lamb, stood out in stark black text. His phone buzzed. A text from Isabel, picking up Emma for lunch with her study group. Back by 3. Study group. Stuart pulled up Emma's school calendar. Every Thursday lunch for the past year was marked study group with Dr. Lamb, Advanced Science Program. The calendar entries were shared with both Isabel's and Manuel's accounts. He opened a secure terminal, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Within minutes, he had Manuel Lamb's digital footprint displayed across his screens. CEO of Globe Tech Solutions, Harvard MBA, regular speaker at tech conferences. A photo showed a tall man with silver-streaked hair, standing confidently at a podium. Stuart recognized the backdrop. It was from last year's Cybersecurity Summit, an event he'd attended. The office phone rang, displaying Rival Tech's internal number. Stuart let it go to voicemail, his attention caught by a social media post from 6 months ago. It showed Emma at a science fair, proudly holding a first-place ribbon. Manuel Lamb stood beside her, one hand on her shoulder, the caption reading, "So proud of my brilliant girl." Hashtag father-daughter moments. The post had been quickly deleted, but Stuart's specialized tools had cached it. The comment section revealed familiar names. Friends, colleagues, family members, all responding with hearts and congratulations. None seemed surprised by Manuel's presence. Stuart's email pinged. A calendar reminder for next week, Emma's violin recital. He clicked it, stomach churning as he saw the full attendee list. Manuel Lamb's name was there, marked as accepted 3 weeks ago. The house felt suddenly too quiet, too empty. Stuart pulled up his own photos from the past few years, scanning them with new eyes. School events, birthday parties, family gatherings. How many moments had he missed? How many times had he been too busy securing other people's secrets to notice his own life being infiltrated? His phone buzzed again. A corporate email marked urgent. Security breach detection protocol update required. Stuart laughed bitterly. He'd spent 15 years building digital fortresses, monitoring for the smallest anomalies that might indicate a breach. Yet somehow, he'd missed the most important security breach of all, the one happening in his own home. The front door opened downstairs. Isabel's voice drifted up. "Emma, don't forget your violin. Manuel's picking you up for practice at 4. Stuart closed his eyes, letting the pieces fall into place. The late-night phone calls Isabel claimed were work emergencies. The weekend client meetings that kept her away. Emma's sudden interest in advanced science programs, so different from her usual artistic pursuits. He opened a new document and began typing, documenting everything he'd discovered. Dates, times, access patterns, digital breadcrumbs that formed a map of betrayal. 3 years of careful manipulation, hidden in plain sight within the very systems he helped design. The irony wasn't lost on him. As Chief Information Security Officer, his job was to protect against threats, to notice patterns that didn't fit. He'd been so focused on external dangers that he'd missed the internal compromise of his own family security. Stuart heard Emma's violin case being opened downstairs, followed by the soft sounds of her practice scales. He checked the time, 3:15 p.m. 45 minutes until Manuel Lamb would arrive, playing his role in this carefully orchestrated deception. He reached for his phone, composing a message to Isabel. "We need to talk. Now." Then he stood, straightened his jacket, and prepared to face the architects of his own obsolescence. The kitchen's marble floor amplified every click of Isabel's heels as she paced. Stuart sat at the island counter, his laptop open to the damning evidence he'd discovered. Emma's violin practice provided a surreal soundtrack to their confrontation, her scales floating down from upstairs. "How long?" Stuart's voice remained controlled, professional, the same tone he used in security breach meetings. Isabel stopped pacing, turning to face him with an expression he'd never seen before. Not guilt, not fear, but something closer to contempt. "You really want to do this now? 15 minutes before Emma's lesson?" "Manuel's lesson, you mean?" Stuart turned his laptop around, displaying the calendar entries. 3 years of lessons, actually, along with genetic tests, school pickups, and parent-teacher conferences I apparently attended but don't remember. A cold laugh escaped Isabel's lips, the sound so foreign it made Stuart flinch. "You really think you're the master of secrets in this family?" She moved closer, her designer blazer catching the afternoon light. The great Stuart Patterson, protecting corporate data while his own life slips through his fingers? "Answer the question, Isabel." She leaned against the counter, her wedding ring catching the light. "Manuel and I met at a tech conference 4 years ago. The one you skipped for a security audit in Singapore." Her lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "He actually noticed me, Stuart, not just as someone's wife, but as a person with ideas, ambitions. And Emma? When did you decide to give her a replacement father?" "We didn't decide anything. It happened naturally." Isabel's voice softened slightly. "Manuel took an interest in her education, her future. While you were building firewalls, he was building relationships. Did you know Emma's interested in biochemistry? That she wants to cure genetic diseases? Manuel's been mentoring her, connecting her with real scientists." Stuart's fingers tightened around his coffee mug. "And my father? How does Leonard fit into this master plan?" "Your father?" Isabel's laugh returned, sharper this time. "Leonard recognized potential when he saw it. That beach house you think he's been lending us for family vacations? He's been helping us manage a trust for Emma's future. A future with her real father." The violin music stopped abruptly. Footsteps overhead indicated Emma was packing up for her lesson. "Real father," Stuart repeated, the words tasting bitter. "Is that what you told her to call him?" "We never told her to call him anything. She chose it herself, after he spent actual time with her, helping with science projects, attending her events." Isabel checked her watch. "Speaking of which, Manuel will be here soon. I suggest you process this somewhere else. Emma doesn't need to see you like this." Stuart stood slowly, his security training helping him maintain composure. "Like what, exactly? Like a husband discovering his wife's betrayal? Or like a father learning his daughter's been claimed by another man through a web of digital paperwork?" "Oh, please." Isabel rolled her eyes. "Don't act so shocked. You've been emotionally absent for years, hiding behind your screens and security protocols. Manuel and we've been building something extraordinary. Something real. The doorbell rang. Emma's footsteps thundered down the stairs, her violin case thumping against each step. "That's Manuel," she called out, her voice excited. "Mom, are you coming to watch today?" Isabel maintained eye contact with Stuart. "Of course, sweetie. I'll be right there." She lowered her voice. "Make a scene now, and you'll only hurt Emma. Is that what you want?" Stuart watched as his daughter rushed past the kitchen, caught a glimpse of her happy face as she opened the front door. Manuel's voice drifted in, warm and paternal. "There's my girl, ready to tackle that new piece." Isabel grabbed her purse from the counter. "We'll discuss this later. I suggest you use this time to think carefully about your next move. Manuel has resources you can't imagine, Stuart. Don't do anything hasty." She walked out, her heels clicking against the marble one last time. Through the kitchen window, Stuart watched as they loaded into Manuel's Tesla. Emma in the back seat, Isabel in the front, Manuel holding doors and sharing smiles. The perfect family picture. Stuart turned back to his laptop, pulling up Manuel Lamb's company profile. Globe Tech Solutions, a rising star in the tech world, known for aggressive acquisitions and innovative leadership. He opened a secure browser and began digging deeper, looking for connections, patterns, vulnerabilities. They thought he was just a security expert, someone who built walls and monitored threats. They'd soon learn that those same skills could be used for offense as well as defense. The betrayal wasn't just an affair. It was a carefully orchestrated takeover of his life, piece by piece, year by year. And Stuart Patterson knew exactly how to orchestrate a takeover of his own. The leather upholstery of Clint Irwin's office chair creaked as he poured another finger of whiskey. Outside his window, San Francisco's financial district sparkled in the twilight. Stuart sat across from his best friend of 20 years, watching as the truth spilled out with each sip. "They approached me 6 months ago," Clint admitted, swirling the amber liquid. "Manuel and Isabel had it all planned out. They'd offer me partnership in Globe Tech if I helped discredit you professionally." Stuart kept his voice neutral. "And I refused, obviously." Clint knocked back his drink. "But Stuart, they've been planning your replacement in every aspect of your life. It's not just about Emma or Isabel anymore. Tell me everything." Clint moved to his desk, pulling out a file. "Your family lawyer, Erica Lawson? She's been representing both families. Every contract you've signed in the past 2 years has had hidden clauses, preparing for your eventual removal." Stuart thought of all the documents Erica had handled, property transfers, investment accounts, even Emma's trust fund. "How did you discover this?" "Because they wanted me to handle the financial transition." Clint's hands shook slightly as he opened the file. "Look at these partnership agreements. The language is clever. Gradual transfer of authority, contingency clauses triggered by personal misconduct or professional negligence." The papers detailed a complex web of legal and financial maneuvers. Stuart recognized some of the shell companies from his earlier research. "What about Dr. Garrison, your couple's therapist?" Clint laughed humorlessly. "She's been coaching Isabel and Manuel for months, teaching them how to gradually shift Emma's emotional allegiance. There are session notes, recorded conversations." Stuart's phone buzzed. A text from Isabel. "Emma's staying at Manuel's tonight. Science project, deadline tomorrow. They've thought of everything." Clint continued, pouring another drink. "School records, medical authorizations, even your father's involvement. Leonard's been acting as their financial advisor, helping them move assets through offshore accounts." "My own father." Stuart's voice hardened. "Why are you telling me this now?" Clint met his friend's eyes. "Because they're making their final moves. Manuel's company is preparing a hostile takeover of rival tech. Once that happens, you'll lose everything. Your job, your reputation, access to Emma." Stuart stood, moving to the window. Below, cars crawled through the evening traffic, their headlights creating rivers of light. "How many others are involved?" "The network's extensive. Business associates, family friends, even some of your own security team." Clint joined him at the window. "They've been building this spider's web for years, Stuart. Each strand carefully placed, tested, strengthened, and they offered you partnership." Stuart turned to his friend. "Why did you refuse?" "Because 20 years of friendship means something to me." Clint's voice cracked slightly. And because what they're doing, it's not just unethical, it's cruel. They're not just replacing you. They're erasing you. Stewart's phone buzzed again. A photo from Isabel, Emma in Manuel's home office, surrounded by scientific equipment, beaming at the camera. The caption read, "Future scientist at work. Hashtag proud parents. I need names," Stewart said quietly. "Everyone involved, every connection, every detail you can remember." Clint nodded, returning to his desk. "I've been keeping records. Dates, conversations, meetings. But Stewart, what are you going to do? They've already won most of the key players to their side." Stewart thought of his daughter's smile in the photo, of Isabel's cold laugh in the kitchen, of Manuel's carefully crafted role as the perfect father figure. He thought of the digital trails he'd discovered, the legal documents with hidden clauses, the therapy sessions designed to reprogram his daughter's affections. "They think they're the architects," he said, his voice calm. "But they forgot something important." "What's that?" "Every system has vulnerabilities. Every network has weak points." Stewart turned from the window, his expression set. "And I've spent 15 years learning how to find them." Clint recognized the look in his friend's eyes. It was the same expression Stewart wore when hunting down security breaches. Focused, determined, dangerous. "Whatever you're planning," Clint said, "I want in." It's time someone stood up to their manipulation. Stewart nodded, already mentally mapping out his counterattack. They'd built their web carefully, yes, but they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd left him alive to fight back. The night deepened outside Clint's office as the two men began their work, unraveling the threads of betrayal one by one. In his pocket, Stewart's phone buzzed with another happy family photo, each notification reinforcing his resolve. They thought they'd written the perfect program to erase him from his own life. Now it was time to introduce some bugs into their system. Stewart's home office had become a war room. 3 monitors displayed different aspects of Manuel Lamb's digital empire, each screen revealing another layer of deception. 2 weeks had passed since Clint's confession, and Stewart hadn't wasted a single hour. "Mr. Patterson?" A hesitant voice came through a secure line. "This is Flora Watson from GlobeTech Analytics." Stewart straightened in his chair. "Ms. Watson, thank you for agreeing to meet virtually. Please call me Flora." Her voice carried an edge of nervousness. "I received your message about Manuel Lamb's activities." "How did you know?" "About the harassment case he buried 3 years ago." Stewart pulled up a heavily encrypted file. "The same way I found his cryptocurrency holdings. I followed digital breadcrumbs." A bitter laugh came through the line. 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days ago. He called it mentoring. When I threatened to report him, suddenly my performance reviews tanked. "But that's not why you contacted me, is it?" "No." Stewart opened another window, displaying complex financial transactions. "I need someone who understands GlobeTech's internal systems. Someone who can help me trace years of financial manipulation. Someone with both the skill and the motivation to see Manuel Lamb fall." Silence filled the line. Finally, Flora spoke, her voice stronger. "Show me what you found." For the next hour, Stewart walked her through his discoveries. Shell companies hiding cryptocurrency transactions. Corporate funds diverted through a maze of international accounts. A pattern of financial manipulation that would make the SEC salivate. "The complexity is impressive," Flora admitted. "But proving it, that's another matter. Manuel's careful. He has teams of lawyers and accountants protecting him. That's why I need your help." Stewart pulled up a piece of code he'd been working on. "I'm developing an algorithm to trace these patterns, but I need someone who knows where to look. Someone who can access GlobeTech's systems legally." "And what's in it for me?" Stewart smiled grimly. "Besides justice? How about your old job back, with a promotion? Once Manuel falls, GlobeTech will need honest leadership." Flora's typing could be heard through the line. "Send me what you have. I'll need a few days to analyze it." "But Mr. Patterson?" "Yes. Make it hurt." Over the next 3 weeks, Stewart and Flora worked in careful synchronization. She provided internal access points. He developed tools to trace the money. Their algorithm grew more sophisticated, mapping years of financial manipulation. "Look at this." Flora's voice carried excitement one evening. "He's been using corporate funds to build a personal empire. real estate, private companies, even that lab that did your daughter's genetic testing. All purchased through a network of shell companies. Stewart leaned closer to his screen. Can you document everything? Already started, but we need to be careful. If Manuel suspects, he won't. Stewart opened his secure email. Because we're about to give him a bigger problem. How would the SEC react to an anonymous tip about unregistered cryptocurrency trading? Flora's smile was audible. A distraction? The foundation. Stewart began composing the email. While they investigate that, we'll be tracing everything else. Every transaction, every shell company, every cent he's stolen. He'll fight back. Count on it. Stewart thought of Emma, probably at Manuel's house right now, being fed more lies. That's why this is just the beginning. The tip went out at midnight, routed through layers of proxies. By morning, the SEC would have their first thread to pull. But Stewart was already focused on the next phase. Flora, how would you feel about a promotion sooner rather than later? What do you mean? Stewart pulled up GlobeTech's organization chart. Manuel will need someone to blame when things start going wrong. Someone who's been examining financial records. A perfect scapegoat. Me. Flora's voice held no fear, only understanding. Yes, but while he's focused on discrediting you publicly, I'll be gathering evidence privately. Flora paused. You've thought this through? Stewart glanced at a photo of Emma on his desk, taken before all this began. They spent years planning my replacement. I'm planning their obsolescence. As dawn approached, Stewart and Flora finalized their strategy. The SEC tip was just the first domino. Behind it stood a carefully arranged line of revelations, each designed to expose another facet of Manuel's corruption. One last thing, Flora said before signing off. Why did you really choose me? There are other analysts who could help. Stewart thought about her question. Because you understand what it's like to have someone try to erase you. To be replaced, discredited, pushed aside. And because you refuse to break. Like you. Exactly like me. Stewart began shutting down his systems. Get some rest, Flora. Tomorrow, we start dismantling Manuel Lamb's empire. Piece by piece. Miriam Woodard's corner office at Magnus Venture Capital offered a breathtaking view of the bay. Stewart sat across from his old college friend, watching as she reviewed his proposal. A ghost, she repeated, setting down the tablet. You want to become a ghost while orchestrating one of the most aggressive corporate takeovers I've seen in years. Not just a corporate takeover. Stewart handed her another file. A complete dismantling of Manuel Lamb's life. The same way he tried to dismantle mine. Miriam's eyes narrowed as she read. These subsidiary companies, they're all vulnerable to acquisition. But the timing would have to be perfect. That's where the Ghost Protocol comes in. Stewart leaned forward. For the next 3 months, I need to appear to be spiraling out of control. Missing meetings, drinking at work functions, having a very public breakdown, while actually meeting with me to coordinate the takeover. Miriam smiled slowly. Clever. But why Magnus Venture Capital? Because you're the last person they'd suspect. Manuel thinks he knows all my connections, but he doesn't know about that summer we spent interning at Goldman Sachs, or how you helped me through my father's first betrayal. Miriam stood, walking to her window. Speaking of Leonard, how does he fit into this? He doesn't know yet. Right now, he thinks he's cleverly managing their hidden assets. Stewart joined her at the window. Let him keep thinking that. The next week, Stewart's transformation began. He showed up late to a board meeting, his tie askew, smelling faintly of whiskey. The following day, he missed a critical security review. Stewart? His assistant Sarah knocked on his office door. Mr. Lamb is on line 1. About the missed meeting, tell him I'm indisposed. Stewart deliberately slurred his words. Family emergency. Sarah's concern was evident. Sir, are you okay? Never better. He laughed too loudly, making sure others in the hallway could hear. Meanwhile, in Miriam's office, the real work continued. GlobeTech's subsidiaries are the key, she explained, spreading out documents. Manuel's been using them to hide his financial manipulation. If we acquire controlling interests, we control his leverage. Stewart studied the company structures. How soon can you move? The first acquisitions are already in progress, through shell companies of our own. Manuel's too busy watching you self-destruct to notice. The pattern continued for weeks. Stuart would appear drunk at corporate functions, rambling about betrayal and family. Each public scene was carefully choreographed. Each missed meeting spent planning with Miriam. One evening, he stumbled into a restaurant where Isabel and Manuel were dining. "Well, if it isn't the happy couple," he announced loudly, swaying slightly. Manuel rose, his face a mask of concern. "Stuart, let me call you a car." "Why?" Stuart laughed bitterly. "So you can take my ride too? Like you took my family?" Isabel's face flushed with embarrassment as other diners turned to watch. "You're making a scene?" "No, you made the scene." Stuart's voice cracked perfectly. "Years of scenes, all scripted, all planned. Did you enjoy it? Watching me work while you plan my replacement?" Security approached, but Manuel waved them back. "He's harmless. Just a man having trouble accepting reality." Stuart allowed himself to be led out, maintaining his unsteady gait until he was around the corner. Then he straightened, checked his watch, and headed to Miriam's office. "Perfect timing," she greeted him. "The papers just came through. We now control 3 of Globetech's key subsidiaries." Manuel's reaction? Too busy dealing with the SEC investigation to notice. "Your cryptocurrency tip has them tearing apart his trading records." Stuart smiled grimly. "And Flora? Playing her part beautifully. Manuel's convinced she's the weak link, the source of the SEC tip. He's so focused on discrediting her, he hasn't noticed what she's really documenting." The Ghost Protocol continued. Stuart's apparent breakdown became a topic of corporate gossip. Each public incident carefully designed to draw attention while masking their true operations. Isabel called. Miriam mentioned during one late-night strategy session. "She's worried about your stability, your access to Emma." "Good." Stuart pulled up their acquisition timeline. "Let them think I'm falling apart. It makes the next phase easier." "Speaking of which," Miriam slid over a document. "Leonard's financial advisor, Kay Whitman, she's agreed to help us track his involvement. Apparently, she has her own issues with how he's been operating." Stuart examined the document. Every transaction, every conversation between Leonard and Manuel's team, meticulously documented. "My father always taught me to keep records," he mused. "I wonder if he'll appreciate the irony. When do we move on him? Soon?" Stuart watched the sun set over the bay. "First, let's make sure Manuel and Isabel feel completely secure. Let them think they've won. And then we show them what a real takeover looks like." The Rolling Hills Country Club hadn't changed since Stuart's childhood. Same manicured lawns, same hushed conversations, same air of entitled conspiracy. Leonard Patterson sat at his usual corner table, watching his son approach with a mixture of wariness and resignation. "You look terrible," Leonard commented as Stuart took a seat. "Isabel tells me you've been having some difficulties." "Really?" Stuart's voice was calm, controlled. "What else does Isabel tell you? Besides investment strategies and asset management tips?" Leonard's hand tightened around his scotch glass. "So, I know everything." Stuart placed a thick folder on the table. "Every transaction, every conversation, every betrayal. It's not betrayal to protect my granddaughter's future." Leonard leaned forward. "Manuel has resources, connections. The kind of opportunities you never save it." Stuart opened the folder. "Kay Whitman has been very thorough in her documentation. Tax evasion, fraud, illegal transfers. Did Manuel promise to protect you when this all came out?" Leonard's face paled slightly. "Kay? My Kay? Your Kay has been working for me for weeks. Recording everything." Stuart's voice remained steady. "You taught me that family is everything. Remember? After Mom died, when it was just us. Family first, Stuart. Nothing else matters. I was protecting family." Leonard's voice cracked. "Emma's future. By helping them erase me?" Stuart pushed a document across the table. "This is from 3 months ago. You helped Manuel set up a trust that would activate upon my personal deterioration. Were you planning my breakdown or just preparing for it?" Leonard stared at the paper, recognition dawning. "How did you get this?" "The same way I got everything else. By paying attention. By following the money." Stuart leaned back. "So here's your choice, Dad. Help me destroy them. or I release proof of your involvement in tax evasion and fraud to the IRS. You wouldn't, the same way you wouldn't help destroy your own son? Stewart's smile was cold. Maybe Manuel's right. Maybe Emma does need a different kind of father. One who understands that loyalty isn't negotiable. Leonard looked at his son, really looked at him for the first time in years. Gone was the boy who'd sought his approval, replaced by a man hardened by betrayal. A man he'd helped create. What do you want me to do? First, transfer the beach house to Emma's trust. But this time, I'll be the sole controller. Stewart slid over another document. Then, you're going to help me trace every asset you helped them hide. Every account, every shell company, every transaction. They'll never forgive me. Like I'll never forgive you? Stewart stood. Sign the papers, Dad. Consider it your last act of parental guidance. Leonard's hand shook as he reached for the pen. You've changed. No. Stewart watched his father sign. I'll just learn to play the game you taught me. Family first, remember? Nothing else matters. As Leonard finished signing, Stewart gathered the documents. One more thing. That breakdown they're all gossiping about? The drinking, the scenes, the missed meetings? What about it? Thank you for teaching me that appearances can be deceiving. Stewart straightened his tie. Manuel and Isabel think they're watching me fall apart. Instead, they're watching their own empire crumble. Leonard looked up sharply. The Ghost Protocol. That's what Kay mentioned. Every missed meeting was spent planning their downfall. Every drunken scene covered another move against them. Stewart tucked the folder under his arm. You taught me well, Dad. Maybe too well. As Stewart walked away, Leonard called after him. Stewart? What happens now? Stewart paused, looking back at the man who'd shaped him, betrayed him, and finally chosen him. Now we show them what a Patterson can really do when backed into a corner. The sun was setting over the golf course as Stewart left the country club. In his pocket, his phone buzzed with updates from Flora and Miriam. The pieces were falling into place, the trap nearly ready to spring. They'd spent years weaving their web around him, thinking he was trapped. They never realized they were the ones being entangled, their own strings pulled by the puppet they'd tried to discard. The real show was about to begin. The GlobeTech annual shareholders meeting buzzed with anticipation. Manuel Lamb stood at the podium, radiating confidence as he presented growth projections on the massive screen behind him. Our third quarter results exceed all expectations. Manuel gestured to a particularly impressive graph. GlobeTech Solutions continues to lead the industry in innovation and market expansion. In the back of the room, Flora Watson sat quietly with her laptop, watching the clock. Months of preparation had led to this moment. Her screen displayed a simple message window. Asterisk execute protocol, Y/N asterisk. Her phone vibrated, a text from Stewart. Time to end his performance. Flora's fingers moved across the keyboard. One by one, screens throughout the auditorium began to change. The pristine growth projections dissolved, replaced by transaction records, shell company documentation, and years of financial manipulation. Manuel's voice faltered. There seems to be a technical... Mr. Lamb, a voice called from the audience. A woman in a sharp suit stood, holding up a tablet. Jennifer Chun, SEC Enforcement Division. Would you care to explain these cryptocurrency transactions? Before Manuel could respond, another screen lit up with internal emails and transfer records. Flora watched as his face drained of color, recognizing his own correspondence about misappropriated corporate funds. This is a hack, Manuel declared, trying to maintain control. Security, shut down the screens. I'm afraid that won't be possible. Miriam Woodard rose from her seat in the front row. As the majority shareholder of GlobeTech's key subsidiaries, I'm quite interested in these revelations. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Manuel's eyes darted between Miriam and the damning evidence displayed around him. Majority shareholder? He sputtered. That's impossible. I control those subsidiaries. Not anymore. Miriam nodded to her legal team, who began distributing documents. Magnus Venture Capital has acquired controlling interests in all major GlobeTech subsidiaries over the past 3 months. While you were watching Stewart Patterson's apparent breakdown, you missed your own company being acquired piece by piece. The murmurs grew louder. Board members huddled over the documents, faces growing grave. But the most interesting evidence, Flora stood, her voice carrying clearly, is what you've been selling to rival tech as competitors. New screens lit up, showing correspondence between Manuel and various tech companies. Detailed technical specifications, product roadmaps, and corporate strategies, all traced back to his private servers. Corporate espionage, the SEC agent noted, making entries on her tablet. That's a serious charge, Mr. Lamb. Manuel gripped the podium. This is absurd. I've never leaked. The digital signatures are quite clear, Flora interrupted, projecting the technical analysis. Every document, every email, every transaction, all authenticated with your personal encryption keys. What Manuel couldn't know, was that Stewart had planted those secrets himself, creating an unbreakable chain of evidence leading directly to Manuel's door. The board chairman stood. In light of these revelations, I call for an immediate vote of no confidence in the current CEO. You can't do this, Manuel's voice cracked. I built this company. No, Miriam corrected. You built a house of cards, and now it's falling. Security approached the podium, no longer responding to Manuel's commands. In the chaos that followed, Flora calmly sent one final message to Stewart. Phase 1 complete. Across town, in his rival tech office, Stewart watched the live stream of Manuel's downfall. Everything had worked perfectly. The SEC investigation, Miriam's takeover, the evidence of corporate espionage. But this was just a corporate strike. The personal devastation was about to begin. Isabel's Tesla purred to a stop in the driveway of her Mediterranean-style mansion. She'd left the shareholders' meeting early, unsettled by Manuel's increasingly frantic calls. Her credit card had been declined at lunch, probably just a security hold. The front door wouldn't open. She tried her key again, then the electronic keypad. Nothing. Her phone rang, the family lawyer. Erica, thank God. Something's wrong with the house security and my cards. Isabel. Erica Lawson's voice shook. The Bar Association just served me with ethics violation charges. Conflict of interest, breach of fiduciary duty. They have evidence I've been representing both families while orchestrating Stewart's removal from Emma's life. What? How? Everything's documented. Years of correspondence, legal strategies, backdated paperwork. Erica's voice cracked. I'm facing disbarment. Isabel, I can't help you anymore. The call ended. Isabel's phone immediately lit up with another notification, her bank's fraud department. She clicked the alert, watching in horror as account after account displayed the same message, frozen pending investigation. A police car rolled up her driveway. Mrs. Patterson? An officer approached. We have a warrant to secure these premises as part of an ongoing financial investigation. This is ridiculous. Isabel's designer heels clicked on the pavement as she paced. Let me call Manuel. Mr. Lamb is currently in custody, the officer stated flatly. If you have personal items to retrieve, we'll escort you. Isabel's phone buzzed again, Dr. Garrison this time. Isabel, my license, they're suspending my practice. The ethics board has recordings of our sessions, the ones where we planned how to transition Emma's affections. The world spun. Isabel sat heavily on the front steps, watching as investigators filed into her home. Every carefully constructed piece of her life was unraveling simultaneously. Her phone lit up with a text from Leonard. The beach house transfer is complete. I'm sorry, Isabel. I had to choose my son. Another message arrived from Stewart. Just an image. Emma's genetic test results, with a glaring red stamp across them. Fraudulent. Lab ownership traced to Manuel Lamb. The officer returned. Mrs. Patterson, we need to discuss your daughter's custody situation. Given the evidence of documented deception and fraudulent medical testing. No. Isabel stood. You don't understand. We did everything legally. The school records, the medical authorizations, the ones based on fraudulent genetic tests? Stewart's voice made her spin around. He stood at the bottom of the driveway, looking immaculate in his business suit. Every legal document establishing Manuel's paternal rights was built on fraud. Like everything else in your carefully constructed fantasy. How? Isabel's voice failed. How did I destroy your network so completely? Stewart smiled coldly. I learned from the best. You and Manuel spent years orchestrating my removal from every aspect of my life. I just returned the favor. Where's Emma? Safe. Away from the people who tried to steal her through forged documents and manipulated affections. Stewart checked his watch. Dr. Garrison's license suspension should be official by now. Erica's disbarment proceedings start next week. The SEC has Manuel. And you. He gestured to her frozen phone, the locked house, the investigating officers. You get to watch it all burn. Isabel's legs gave out. She sank onto the steps, her perfect world collapsing around her. The truth always comes out, Isabel, Stewart said quietly. Sometimes it just needs a little help. 1 year later, Stewart adjusted the nameplate on his desk. CEO, Rivaltech Globetech Conglomerate. The merger had been his final masterpiece, combining his security expertise with Globetech's market presence. A gentle knock interrupted his thoughts. Emma stood in the doorway, holding something behind her back. Come in, sweetheart. Stewart smiled, noting how much she'd grown in the past year. At 13, she was starting to look more like him than Isabel. Emma approached the desk, revealing a handmade card. Happy Father's Day, Dad. She placed it carefully next to his computer. I'm sorry I ever called him father. Stewart pulled her into a hug, feeling her tears dampen his shirt. The past is past, Emma. We're building something new now. Ms. Kemp helped me make the card, Emma said, wiping her eyes. She's been really good at helping me understand everything. Stewart glanced at the photo on his desk, himself and Trina Kemp at Emma's latest art show. The art teacher had been invaluable over the past year, helping Emma process her trauma through creativity. Speaking of Ms. Kemp, Stewart smiled. She's coming over for dinner tonight. That okay? Emma's face brightened. Can we show her my new paintings? Of course. Stewart watched his daughter head to the door, her step lighter now. Love you, sweetheart. Love you too, Dad. The real one. After she left, Stewart opened his desk drawer. Inside lay one final file, evidence of Manuel's new identity in South America. He'd fled there after making bail, just before the SEC could file additional charges. Stewart closed the drawer without touching the file. Some cards were better held than played, especially when your enemies think they've lost everything already. His phone buzzed. A text from Trina. Still on for dinner? Emma mentioned something about new paintings. Stewart smiled, feeling the warmth of possibility. The past year had taught him that the best revenge wasn't just destroying the old life. It was building a better one from the ashes. He glanced at Emma's card, then at Trina's message, and finally at the closed drawer containing Manuel's whereabouts. The old Stewart would have played that last card, ensuring complete destruction. But he wasn't that man anymore. Manuel could keep his false identity in South America. Isabel could have her small apartment and limited visitation rights. Even his father Leonard could maintain his cautious distance. Stewart had something better: truth, trust, and a future unmarked by deception. He picked up his phone to reply to Trina, leaving the past locked away where it belonged. Sometimes the most powerful move wasn't the kill shot. It was knowing when to holster the weapon and walk away. Epilogue: 5 years later. The courtyard of Emma's high school graduation buzzed with excitement. Stewart Patterson adjusted his tie, watching his 18-year-old daughter accept her diploma with highest honors. Beside him, Trina squeezed his hand, her wedding ring catching the June sunlight. Dr. Emma Patterson, Stewart murmured proudly. Harvard Medical School's youngest accepted student this year. In the back row of the ceremony, Isabel sat alone, her designer clothes replaced by off-the-rack business casual. 5 years had carved subtle lines around her eyes, souvenirs of a fall from grace she never quite recovered from. The corporate world had a long memory. After the Globetech scandal, no major company would touch her. She'd finally found work as an administrative assistant at a small accounting firm, living in a one-bedroom apartment across town. Her court-mandated visitation rights had expanded slightly over the years, but the damage to her relationship with Emma proved permanent. Mom's here, Emma noted after the ceremony, her voice neutral. Third row, from the back. Stewart nodded. Do you want to? Maybe later? Emma adjusted her honor cords. The research team is waiting to take photos. Dr. Watson wants to celebrate her star in turn. Flora Watson had flourished in the aftermath of Globetech's fall. As head of research and development at the merged rival tech Globetech conglomerate, she created a prestigious internship program. Emma had been her star pupil for the past 2 years, their shared interest in genetic research strengthened by an unspoken understanding of betrayal and redemption. Speaking of celebrations, Trina linked her arm through Emma's. "Your father has a surprise." Stewart led them to where Clint Irwin waited by his car. His best friend had remained a steadfast ally, now serving as chief strategy officer for the conglomerate. "Ready for your graduation gift?" Clint grinned, handing Emma an envelope. Inside was a deed to the beach house, the same one Leonard had transferred to Emma's trust 5 years ago. But this deed was different. It listed Emma as the sole owner, no trusts or conditions attached. "It's yours free and clear," Stewart explained. "For weekend escapes from medical school, or maybe a summer research station. Your choice." Emma's eyes welled up. "But what about Grandpa Leonard? I thought he still had partial." "He signed over his remaining interest last week." Stewart watched his daughter process this. "He's been trying, in his way. The trust fund he set up for your education, he doubled it. Said something about investing in the future instead of hiding in the past." Leonard Patterson had spent the past 5 years attempting to rebuild bridges, with mixed success. He and Stewart maintained a cautious relationship, bound more by shared regret than genuine warmth. But his dedication to Emma's future never wavered. Later that evening, at the celebration dinner, Stewart's phone buzzed with a news alert. Manuel Lamb's face filled the screen, older, grayer, but still recognizable. The headline read, "Former tech CEO arrested in Argentina, facing extradition." "Everything okay?" Trina asked quietly. Stewart showed her the alert. 5 years of freedom had made Manuel careless. His false identity in South America had held until he tried to start another tech company, his ambition once again proving his downfall. "Should we be concerned?" Trina's protective instinct toward Emma showed in her furrowed brow. "No." Stewart deleted the alert. "His time in our story is over." Across the restaurant, Emma sat with her research team, animatedly discussing genetic markers and inherited traits. She'd taken the pain of Manuel's deception and transformed it into a passion for understanding genuine genetic relationships. Her work with Flora focused on developing better tests for hereditary diseases, a direct response to the fraudulent testing that had once been used to claim her. The dinner crowd included other familiar faces. Miriam Woodard, whose venture capital firm had prospered from the merged company's success. Kay Whitman, who'd parlayed her documentation of Leonard's activities into a successful corporate compliance consulting business. Even Dr. Garrison had rebuilt a small practice, though she now specialized in helping families heal from betrayal rather than facilitating it. "Dad," Emma called from her table. "Dr. Watson wants to know if I can start the internship early." "Before Harvard?" Stewart smiled at his daughter's enthusiasm. The past 5 years had transformed her from a confused 12-year-old into a confident young woman. She'd inherited his analytical mind and Trina's artistic sensitivity, creating a unique perspective that impressed her mentors. Isabel watched from her corner table, invited out of protocol rather than forgiveness. Her carefully orchestrated future had crumbled into a life of quiet regret. Weekly therapy sessions and monthly supervised visits hadn't rebuilt Emma's trust. The daughter she'd tried to manipulate into accepting a replacement father now barely acknowledged her as mother. "You know what today reminds me of?" Trina asked later that night, as they walked along the beach near their home. "What's that?" "That conversation we had in my art classroom, right after everything fell apart. Emma was so lost, so hurt. You asked if I could help her process through art therapy." Trina smiled at the memory. "I never expected it would lead to this." Stewart hadn't expected it either. Trina's gentle guidance had helped Emma find her voice through art, then through science. Their friendship had grown naturally into love, culminating in a quiet wedding 2 years ago. Emma stood as bridesmaid, her speech moving everyone to tears. A final news alert buzzed. Former Globetech legal counsel Erica Lawson denied reinstatement to Bar Association. Another consequence of betrayal playing out years later. The network that had enabled Manuel and Isabel's scheme remained permanently fractured. In his home office that night, Stewart logged into the secure system he'd built for the merged company. The dashboard showed steady growth, ethical practices, transparent operations. Everything Manuel's leadership had lacked. Working late? Emma appeared in the doorway, still in her graduation gown. Just checking something. Stewart closed the laptop. Proud of you, sweetheart. I know. Emma sat in the visitor's chair. I saw the news about Manuel. And Ms. Lawson. Does it bother you? Emma considered this. Not really. They're like a cautionary tale now. A reminder that truth matters. Identity matters. Speaking of identity, Stewart opened his desk drawer and pulled out a folder. I found these when we were preparing for Harvard. Inside were Emma's original birth certificates and early medical records. Real ones, documenting her actual genetic heritage. No fraudulent tests, no manipulated data. Your mother asked to see you next week, Stewart mentioned carefully. Before you leave for Cambridge. Emma traced her finger over her birth certificate. Maybe. I haven't decided yet. Does that make me a bad person? No, sweetheart. It makes you honest. Stewart watched his daughter wrestle with the same questions that had haunted him. Sometimes the hardest truth is accepting that forgiveness and trust are different things. Through the window, they could see Trina in the garden, preparing Emma's favorite space for a weekend art session. The studio they'd built there had become a sanctuary, combining science and creativity in ways that helped Emma understand both her past and her future. You know what's weird? Emma stood, smoothing her graduation gown. For all their planning, all their manipulation, they never understood the one thing that mattered. What's that? That being a father isn't about legal documents or genetic tests. She hugged him tightly. It's about being there, every day. Through everything, Stewart held his daughter, remembering the scared 12-year-old who'd hidden from his questions about Manuel. 5 years had transformed them both, turning betrayal into strength, pain into purpose. In the garden, Trina called out that the studio was ready. Emma pulled back, wiping her eyes. Time for one last painting before Harvard? Lead the way, Dr. Patterson, Stewart smiled. As they walked to the garden, Stewart's phone buzzed one final time. A message from his father, proud of you both. The trust was never about money. It was about believing in her future. Stewart slipped the phone away, watching Emma and Trina set up their easels in the fading light. Manuel and Isabel had tried to orchestrate the perfect takeover, but they'd failed to understand a fundamental truth. Real families weren't built on documents and deception. They were built day by day, truth by truth, love by love. The setting sun painted the garden in shades of possibility. In the distance, waves crashed against the shore of the beach they now genuinely owned. Emma's laughter mixed with Trina's gentle instructions, creating a melody of healing and hope. Sometimes, Stewart reflected, the greatest revenge wasn't in destroying the old life. It was in building a new one so beautiful that the past became nothing more than a distant lesson, teaching them all the true meaning of family, trust, and love. The price of betrayal had been high, but the rewards of truth proved immeasurably greater. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.